All right. Hey, folks, we're going to continue working on the combat and exploration book that I'm building here for Spelljammer. Give me a second here to check my signal, make sure everything's coming through clear. I'll go through my intro spiel, and then we'll get to work. So hold on here real quick. Let's hear intro spiel, and then we'll get to work. So there we go. Sounds pretty good. I've got my gravel going, which is a good indication that I haven't gotten good sleep last night. That is the truth, but that is also pretty normal for the morning. Let's see. Set this up to get my intro going. All right. Hey, my name is Theurgy. I create role-playing game supplements. I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for the past number of years. There's a slew of links in the description down below to work that I've already published. Almost all of the work that I publish online like this is 100% free previews, so you can read all the books cover to cover and then decide for yourself if it was worth your time reading it, and if it was, I'd love for you to buy something. So if you're just here for the art, there's probably about 150 illustrations amongst the works that are down there. So even if you aren't a D&D enthusiast, you just want to see the kind of art that I create, that be welcome to kick on through the documents, and if you think the stuff is cool, let me know. Otherwise, I've just posted that I'm live on Twitter. You can follow me at Theurgy. And best way to support the channel, here, Theurgy, here I am. Best way to support the channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Let YouTube know that this kind of long-form production is interesting, even though the algorithms say it's long-winded. Hopefully there's some value that we can gather from the experience together. So I created this book cover around episode 15 of this stream, and we're currently up to episode 196. So we're making our way through this book, folks. Right now we're still working on the equipment and ships section. We're working on the necklace of fresh air, a wondrous item that allows you to have a bubble of air around your head while you're free floating through space. You don't have to worry about gasping for breath. So we're going to continue the illustration there. That's where we're kind of at in the process right now. So let's see. We were putting in shadows down here on this character. We're going to eventually, once the shadows are finished, we'll be binding the line art down into the color that we've laid in, and then we'll smooth out all lines together. For now, we're just laying in some easy shadow to flesh this out. I'm here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday. I do Spelljammer art like this. On Mondays and Thursday nights, I currently create tokens and maps for the Eberron adventure that myself and Andy Headley had been creating last year. You can see that progress. We're up to about episode 150 of the Eberron stream so far. So next time we'll be live on that work will be tomorrow night. On typically during Tuesday lunch each week, we work on Martial Powers system supplement for magic options for martial characters. But this week is a little odd in that we didn't have our normal schedule, which means that today, in about 5 hours from now, we're going to be on with Martial Powers, and we're going to rebuild the Path of the Giant, which was created for the most recent, just released book, Big V's Book of Giants, or whatever the fuck it's called. The Joy of Giants, or what is it? Anyway, there's a giant book that just came out, and there's a barbarian path or subclass that's been included with it. I guess it's Path of the Giants. So, like everything else that we do in the martial power system, we're going to take the existing subclass and we're going to make sure that it works with the martial power system, and then we're going to build a kit of powers that will complement what what we feel the subclass is attempting to express as a creative fantasy. So I think there's a lot of opportunities here for us with the Path of the Giant for us to build out something really cool out of that. What is it? Big B's. God, I don't even remember the name of it. Anyway, whatever. So we're going to do that today at 5. Probably about 11 o'clock. So probably about 4.5 hours from now. That's when we're going to kick in with that. And then on Saturdays, we do commissions and personal projects. So I've been building, I've been just messing around with brushes, building new brushes in Photoshop and seeing if they work for landscape painting like Bob Ross does. And some of them are good, some of them aren't. So, but we're making a landscape painting anyway, and I'm expecting to finish that this Saturday. And then it looks like I have some commission work that's getting lined up for me. So I'm thinking after this weekend, I'll probably be doing a paid commission project. We'll see how that shakes out. And yeah, so when we finish the artwork here for the Spelljammer book and it publishes online, hopefully at the end of September, we'll then move the Eberron project into our mornings like this, and then we'll move Martial Powers forward. We'll still probably do Martial Powers at lunch on Tuesdays, but then either Monday or Thursday will also be Martial Powers, and then I'll open up a play test for use with Martial Powers, probably Monday or Thursday, and then we'll leave Saturday as my commissions. So if you're interested in the Martial Powers project, let me know. I am looking to credit people in the book that are interested in helping explore it in what will probably be a hex crawl and dungeon delve procedurally generated random system like BX, the original D&D. If you haven't been in a dungeon crawl experience, this should be a lot of fun to explore through. We'll see how that shakes out. I haven't done a procedurally generated random hex crawl sort of thing in a while, and I think what we're developing with the Martial Power system is going to be particularly complementary to that sort of gameplay. So I'm looking forward to getting into that space. Pretty happy here. I think I need to have more shadow placed in logically where it would be placed in, underneath the arm. Kind of flipping us off. I think I need to fix that. That could just be her style, but I'm gonna want to get in there and fix that. There we go. So there was a question that got raised on the Discords that I had the fortune of being privy to, and it was asking about how fair is it for a DM to target a freshly resurrected character in battle. So I think it's perfectly fair to target whoever is logical for the monsters the characters are fighting to target in combat. The more intelligent the creature is, the more likely they are to single out spellcasters, period. Once they have a grip on if there is magic in the combat or not, and if the monsters the players are fighting can handle it or not. If they can't, I think it's perfectly fair for the DM to have those creatures get the hell out. If you don't understand or can comprehend how your enemy is attacking you, running away is smart. So DMs should be thinking about what are the players presenting, and how normal is it for the foe the characters are facing. Like how experienced are these monsters with facing the type of things that characters are capable of doing? If you start throwing around magic missiles and shatter and booming blade, most wolves and bears are gonna freak the fuck out and get away. They're just gonna run. They're not gonna want to have to deal with it. They are in no sense gonna want to fight you to the death, like, at all. And they're going to be wary of anything. If they run across you in the future, they're going to be wary of getting anywhere near you. But if you're dealing with demons or veteran soldiers or anyone that has experience with magic, they're going to prioritize dropping your casters ASAP. Hey, Chronic, it's good to see you, guy. So you have to first establish how smart is your team, how smart is the foe that the characters are fighting, and is the threats that the characters are presenting something that is within comprehension of your monsters. If they don't understand where the loud, boomy, flashy lights are coming from, they're just animals. The animal's instinct is run away. If I get wounded, I can't hunt, I'm dead. So their first instinct is going to be to get the hell out. If they're trained to fight magic and weird effects, then they're going to prioritize what they were trained to do. Most soldiers are going to be trained to prioritize the back line and drop the support, while the front line harasses and keeps the front line entertained. Just like the players are trying to keep the brutes at the front line entertained, while the back line can start dropping CC and area damage over past their front line into the back line of the enemy team. The enemy team is going to want to do so similarly. So, having established that magic is the first and primary threat in any combat encounter for anyone that is intelligent, now your team has to start thinking about, well, what are we going to do about this? This needs to be done. A player is only going to respect the campaign as much as they fear the consequences of their actions. If there are no consequences to stupid decisions, then they are going to be encouraged to make dumber and dumber decisions. It's like in corporations, you get promoted to the point where you can't perform anymore, and then you don't get promoted anymore. Players are the same way. They're going to keep pushing dumb and dumber things until like kids, they're being disciplined or punished for the mistakes that they make. Otherwise, they don't respect the environment. So you have to establish that logic, that internal logic that players are going to naturally recognize. They might not appreciate it. They might be angry that they can't just waltz over whatever scenarios are set up because the DM is using logic, but it doesn't take long at all for a team of players to recognize this is being played straight. The DM is attempting to respond with realism and logic, so we have to be realistic and logic as well. That is actually a compliment. So new DMs need to lean into that. The players are basically angsty teens, and they're going to push your authority until they respect you. And once they respect you, they can relax into the environment and the game, knowing that you're going to be presenting sensible consequences to bad actions. And now they have to think their way through, is this smart or not? So you're disciplining and building strength into your team to become strong representatives in a fantasy environment where consequences should be real. I don't know if you've ever, anyone that's out there listening, if you've been in a game where the DM doesn't know what they're doing and how difficult it is for you to take the campaign seriously. I've been in a lot of campaigns where the DM really did not know what they were doing. They weren't able to maintain their own. They couldn't maintain. I guess the best way of putting it would be they can't maintain frame for the campaign. They can't assert that consequences mean anything. They can't assert that if the players attempt to bully the town because they know that they're 7th level and statistically there's no one in that town that's going to be able to face them, then they should logically become the biggest threat in the town. And then they should be targeted by counterparties that are going to punish the wicked, because the players are playing the role of wicked when they start ignoring the rules of society because it's inconvenient to them. That is the start of an insane wizard that will summon demons and destroy your town. It's like people that use charm a lot are swindlers. People that use dangerous magic are psychopaths. And a D&D, a fantasy world where magic is dangerously real, these type of people become threats. So this is the path of the murder hobo, where they just don't respect the campaign because there's no realistic consequences to the actions that they take. As a sidebar, you should really be evaluating how often players are taking this risk. If they consistently enjoy exerting power over NPCs to achieve their goals without respecting decor and what's accepted as, social behavior, like being well adjusted in society. If your team is consistently against that idea, it could very well be that they play D&D because they have rage and anger tendencies that they don't know how to resolve other than expressing that inside of a game. This is actually a really good sign, because what you're providing for them is a means for them to be able to vent the anger that they have in them in a place where it doesn't hurt anyone. So you have to start recognizing if that's the type of people that you're playing with, because if it is, they are specifically there to murder hobo. And you really need to back off the amount of plot and social importance of characters in your game. What you need to do is line them up with a procedurally generated dungeon where they can slaughter things with impunity so they can get the rage out of their heart. You're doing them a great service by doing that, because if they can't vent it someplace safe, they're going to vent it someplace that others feel is unsafe, and they're going to threaten other people. And this is a real thing. So evaluate what your team is. Sometimes they just don't respect you as a DM because you can't build logic, but other times they are just looking for a way to get anger out of their heart. So recognize the difference, first off. But the point of the conversation is supposed to be about resurrecting characters. If my character drops in the middle of a fight, is a DM justified in hitting them again? So, curving back to the point. If we are looking at two fighters and a rogue and a wizard on the back line, and they're fighting monsters, that monster is going to, if it's a mindless monster that just attacks whatever it can see, it's going to take shots at the fighters that are standing there to be attacked, because dumb monsters will attack whatever's available. The easiest thing to target, they will attack, presumably to eat them, until they hurt the monster enough that they can be considered now a beast that becomes fearful for the damage that they've taken. Most creatures are there to hunt, and they may be miscategorizing the characters as prey. So if you hurt the creature, even though D&D is unrealistic in processing damage and that most things just recover full hit points after a long rest, that's not how nature makes animals work. So you have to divorce your brain away from the hit point loss and the mechanics of recovery to what is a creature going to realistically do in the real world, which is if they are wounded and they can't hunt anymore, they will die. So most creatures are going to avoid damage at all costs. And if they can survive one good hit, that makes them question whether or not they'll survive another 2 or 3 of those. They're going to run away, and they should. And your party will either chase them down and kill them, good for them, or they'll let them go, or they may have to let them go because there's more than one combatant. So now there's repercussions that last outside of this battle, which is a broader conversation about processing long-term threats. But right now we're just talking about resurrections. So again, if there's magic identified in the party, that magic user is going to be the target of intelligent creatures that are trained in fighting magic. So if you resurrect a warrior on the front line, that whoever is rezzing that character is going to become, to intelligent creatures, the biggest threat, because it was probably difficult to drop that warrior in the first place, and now they get back up. Kill that cleric. Kill them fast. Burn them dead with fire. That is a logical, intelligent response from seasoned warriors that are used to dealing with magic. Throw up a threat that's large enough to make the magic user be recognized immediately, and then focus fire on that magic user until they drop dead. This should, if done well, intelligent creatures should have ranged weapons for this, because the front line is there to stop you from getting to the back line. So in combat, it should be pretty common to have lieutenant leader types of intelligent parties to have cantrips that have ranged effects. The two things that I recommend most is going to be Shocking Grasp for the front line, because it disables reactions, and Ray of Frost, because it slows people. And in my own system, as an aside, the spell point variant rule options that I have bundled down below, I have multiple concentration, like multi concentration, which is you can maintain more than one concentration spell at a time up to your maximum spell level limit. So if you're a 9th level wizard, you can maintain up to 5 levels worth of concentration spells at once, but it ratchets up your DC. So instead of having like a base DC of 10 on saving throws, if you're maintaining 5 levels, even if it's just a single 5th level spell, your save DC is now 15. So you're going to have to make sure you're not getting hit, because the DC, that DC applies to any saving throw that you make. Damage works as normal, in that like half the damage that you take is the DC to your Constitution saving throw to maintain concentration, or the DC of your total spells plus 10. So if I take 30 points of damage in combat and I'm maintaining a 5th level spell, in either circumstance, it's going to be a DC of 15. But like if I get hit with a Ray of Frost, which is going to be I think it's a dexterity saving throw, or be slow, or your movement speed is slowed. The primary purpose there isn't to slow you, though that helps prevent people from being able to run away from your attacks. The primary purpose is to hit you with a saving throw, to fuck up your concentration. So in my campaigns in particular, intelligent creatures carry... Oops, I am in the wrong layer here. I'm like, why am I smudging around their flesh like that? Because I fuckered up. I'm going to do that, and that, and that. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. There. That's just a tangent. It's so like in my games, concentration, positioning, keeping casters from being targeted at all is a significant portion of tactics. That if you stick your nose out, you're going to get swatted, and you can lose concentration a lot easier. So, but it's because I use spell points. Spell points is a far more flexible system. It lets you cast a lot more powerful spells than what a normal spell slot system would. So to be able to balance the fact that you can crack off multiple 5th level spells at 10th level, like 6 or 7 of them, as opposed to like 2 or 3, then forcing you to lose concentration more often is an excellent balancing factor in that equation. If this type of stuff is interesting to you, all my books are 100% free for you. So just go down and click it and just explore the stuff that I build for a while, and see if it grabs your attention. You think it's fun. As I've spent years running spell points, and honestly, you give players a lot of options, but you also punish them more for making bad choices with those options. And I have no problem retaining characters from level 1 to 20. So it's building logic and consequences to actions. It builds respect from players, and they want, my players anyway, want that level of accountability and realism to have to deal with it. So back to the point is smart creatures are going to have tactics available to them to deal with the backline. They're not just, if they're dumb creatures, then they'll get, their solution to magic is run away because it's scary. Smart creatures that are trained to deal with magic, when it's identified, will kill it with fire fast, so that it goes away, so that it doesn't continue to threaten to kill. I'm going to actually merge these down now. So if you're resurrecting the warrior on the front line, then the cleric becomes the biggest threat. If you've killed the fighter once, you can kill the fighter again. If the cleric keeps the fighter from ever dying, or get back up to fight some more, you're not making any progress. So you got to get rid of the healer. So, is it fair? Absolutely. In that circumstance, it's 100% fair. The more intelligent the creature is, the more it's going to also want to take advantage of mistakes that you make. So, if your team is resurrecting a character that's died on the front line, and they resurrect the character on the front line, so like, I'm dead, I'm 5 feet away from the demon, my cleric casts Revivify on me, I am attempting to stand back up, crap, I'm dead again, because the demon immediately swats you down because you're still within reach of their weapons. Okay, this is a very green party that isn't used to dealing with consequences. So you're doing them a favor by punishing them like this. What they should be doing is, if the healing that they're performing isn't a resurrection that is giving them hit point back, then you have an action economy issue. Most clerics are only capable of actually resurrecting the character without actually healing them. What their team should be doing is using a free object interaction to grab the corpse, using their movement speed to drag them off of the front line, and then using a resurrection spell to get them back on the feet outside of reach. If the enemy team has ranged attacks, the best thing the team can, the creatures can do, is shoot the risen fighter immediately, because they're off the front line, they're still within reach. The cleric doesn't have enough action economy to resurrect and heal them unless they've got some sort of bonus action that allows them to do so. But a smart monsters will note that capability. But the smartest thing they can do is shoot the risen character if that character is still within reach, because there's a decent chance they don't have any hit points yet and they can just get dropped right away. So not only are you using up the cleric's action economy and their resources to raise that character, but you've immediately dropped them again. So this is when the team needs to start learning about running the hell away. Get away. Just like creatures are going to run away from the characters need to learn how to run away from threats. And that may mean you have to TPK them. So, is your table full of players that are going to stick around if their characters die a couple times over the course of an adventure? If this is a one-shot, I'll never see you again, then you may want to consider what kind of a game it is that you're playing if you're never going to play with them again. If they are there as part of a campaign, you need to be thinking about where are new characters going to come from if they can't bring characters back. If they are capable of revivifying and resurrecting, it's not a problem because they have resurrection and revivification magic. If they're smart about using it, they can get off the front line, run away, and then get their characters back. So the DM will be abusive if they don't allow the players to escape, to run away, to drag their fallen allies away with them. Only in severe circumstances like final bosses should they be taking or disintegrating corpses. That actually is really mean. It's okay to drop players because most of them have the resources to be able to bring the characters to bring their fallen friends back. That is teaching them respect in tactics. but not allowing them the opportunity to get that character back and learn from the mistake actually is abusive, because you're not allowing them the opportunity to learn from that mistake. If they have been on your table for a while and have learned tactics and have learned to cover their corpses, to run away, to carry the fallen, to get to a secure point so they can recover and then reapproach the problem from a different point. If they're already savvy like that and they're fighting something that they know is a significant threat, then you can up the circumstances by having them destroy corpses. This is the next level of respect that you can instill into players, that like big battles have big consequences. Hey, Shiner. So you're dealing in this stepping method of increasing penalties and consequences to bad actions. And a seasoned table needs to have higher stakes. The demon will disintegrate or banish the corpse of your fallen friends. So now you have to get a true resurrection spell. So even if I'm 12th level and I can bring my characters back fairly regularly, I need a corpse to do it. If you want to escalate threats in the game, disintegrate them. So now they need a true resurrection spell. So now, like a 3rd level party has to outsource raising a fallen foe because you're carrying their corpse around on a wagon. They're going to have to go to the local church to get a raised spell because they're only 3rd level. They can't do it themselves. By the time they're 12th level, resurrection, raising people, not a problem as long as we have the corpse. Crap. He's taking the corpse away from us now because you're dealing with a level of threats that can get rid of corpses. Like if you're a 12th level party, then you're dealing with threats that can potentially disintegrate the fallen. So now they need to even be more careful. Not only can we not make a mistake of getting killed, but we can't make the mistake of leaving the corpse exposed for destruction. This is the next level of respect that you can force into a character's decision making. This is all attempting to make players think before they fight, assess the situation, potentially even research the creatures or the challenges that they're facing, so that they know stepping into this, if we lose somebody, they're gone for the fight. We have to run away, reevaluate, reapproach, get the character back, and then know that the foe is ready for them and knows that they can take them down. So you're actually escalating the threat in the campaign. And good players, seasoned veteran players that are used to working in small teams tactically in a sort of like SWAT team sort of approach to combat are going to love this level of accountability. Small team warfare is a different genre from thespian storytelling, where harsh consequences for bad tactics is expected, and they will lose respect if that's the kind of game that they've indicated that they want. So again, it's really important to have a good session 0 so you can understand how much risk a team is willing to take and how much consequences are they interested in suffering for the mistakes that they make. Some players love that level of accountability. They consider it challenging. They might get pissed if they fuck up, but they're pissed that they didn't see the mistake. They're not angry at you. They may point the anger at you as a DM because they aren't properly emotionally calibrated. But if they've accepted these consequences, then somewhere inside they are really like an angsty teen. They are appreciating the amount of accountability that you are forcing them to deal with. They should let you know. They should understand for themselves if they are a beer and pretzel murder hobo that is dealing with rage issues from their customer service job, for instance. Hopefully they can identify that. If you as a DM are identifying maybe these are people that have rage issues that are attempting to find a socially acceptable way to deal with it, that is honestly that's a very acceptable conversation to have. It's like, hey, I notice how much you like to fight stuff. You don't like to run away. You want to beat things to the pulp. Are you beating somebody up in your real world inside of your head while you're taking out these monsters? Because we can calibrate the adventure to not have to worry about fallout and like real world consequences. Like we can build a dungeon with horrible monsters that society will appreciate you destroying if that's the kind of game that you want to play. And if they have any kind of awareness, they should be able to recognize that there are different modes of play, that these are this brainless slaughter fest is just as valid a gameplay style as thespian storytelling inside of like a dinner party, for instance. They're both valid games of modes of play. You just really got to understand where you're at. And if you're too new of a player to actually have an honest answer about what it is that you're playing, then hopefully your DM is going to be seasoned enough to be looking out for what those things are. So, like, if you're dealing with a brand new player, they don't know what these different things are. They might not know why they get satisfaction from role-playing games in the first place yet. So you kind of have to give them a lot of grace and try to look for signs about what kind of game they actually enjoy playing. So I have in my party right now, I have 2 problem solvers and a simulationist. The simulation, a thespian, a thespian actor that wants to take on the role of the character and provide solutions and act out what they think that character would actually do, whether it's good for the party or not. And the other 2 players in the party are tactical problem solvers, that they want puzzles, they want challenging combat, they want consequences to have real meaning and consequences, and they want to have things that they have to noodle over, tactically resolve. So the thespian and the tactical problem solvers, they are at odds, in that the thespian will intentionally make bad mistakes because they know that their character is impetuous and prone to rash decisions. Sometimes it's a lot of fun. Sometimes it's frustrating to the tactical players. But they're learning to work with each other, and they're starting to create boundaries for each other, where it's safe for your character to do stupid stuff, but in dangerous situations, defer to the logic that the problem solvers are using to try to solve the problem. So there's a mutual respect thing that's being built there, and they're having to figure that out themselves as part of their team dynamic. So the player gets to the DM gets to insert themselves into this dynamics issue and presenting the world with options that are going to play to the preferences of the players in the party. And that's kind of the DM's job, to identify the style of play that the characters have, but folding back into the conversation about when is it okay for the DM to be tactically brutal in killing players that have just recently been resurrected during combat. And again, if they're being resurrected inside the reach of the creature that killed them, that creature is perfectly justified to swat and drop them again. The players should be paying attention to the level of intelligence of the foes. And again, object interaction to grab a corpse is a free action. Dragging them off of the front line is part of your normal movement that you might not be using anyway. And then you can use your normal action economy to raise them safely off the front line and give them an opportunity to heal up and reapproach the problem. If they have to hold their action until, okay, so if it's going to take an action to heal them, and then it's going to take another action, an action to res them, and then another action to heal them, then that combat character they got raised is probably going to have to hold their action until they get healed so they could then re-enter the front line. That might mean that they're going to miss a round of combat, because if you hold your action, you can't dash and attack because it's not your turn anymore. You're using your reaction to act out of turn because you're holding your action to when you get healed. But if you have reactions available to you and you're a meat shield, then that might not be all you need. The Ancestral Guardian Barbarian might only need to get to the front line so that they can use their class features to hold that front line. So it's going to take an action to raise the character, and it's going to take really high level, like resurrection magic, to actually get them healed as part of the process of being raised. Otherwise, they're going to be raised with 1 hit point. They're going to have to hang off the front line. So yeah, again, it's the players are going to make that mistake if they're new. If they're veterans, they're going to know to drag the character off of the front line to heal them. Otherwise, you're just wasting resources, raising them and then having them drop immediately because they were stupid. That is their fault. If they are angry at themselves for not realizing how much consequences actually matter in the campaign. And they're going to respect you as a DM, but give them a chance to recover from that mistake. A DM can be as harsh in teaching lessons, but be gentle in allowing them to recover from it, so that they feel like they are in. It's like a parent. Like, you have to have boundaries and set penalties that you stick to, but you can be loving about it in the process. Like, if the kid here's I'm not a father, so take my shit with a grain of salt, right? But if you're going to ground your kid and force them to stay home because of a mistake that they made, use that as an opportunity to hang out with them. Give them a movie that they want to watch and watch it with them. If they can't go out and play because that's what they want to do, give them things to do. That's the penalty is stuck at home. The penalty isn't being around you. Make being around you cool. Allow them the opportunity to reassert that they're part of the family unit during that penalty box time. I mean, if you're dealing with angsty kings, they're not going to want to be around you anyway. But offer the opportunities, like, hey, you're grounded. Do you want to watch Aliens? It's a fucking great film. Let's watch the first 2 Indiana Jones movies. You know, you're stuck here anyway. I'll make some popcorn. Let's order some food. Is that encouraging them to make a mistake again? No, it's teaching them that they have the opportunity to, if they're going to fuck up and they're going to get stuck at home, they could have just chosen to stay home and not be in trouble and watch a movie with their family. Or, like, I'm going to push the line. Oh, crap. I don't get to make the choices that I want, but I know that I'm part of my family. They're not actually mad at me. They're just holding me accountable to the rules that they'd established during session 0 of going out and partying. So, like, you know, it's like, I didn't have that. In my life, when I got in trouble from my parents, I was left alone, and I was truly punished for making the mistakes that I was, because a lot of times I get punched and they just wouldn't hang out with me. So, and I was an angry kid and I didn't want to hang out with them because I was mad at them. But they didn't even offer the opportunity for me to be, to reassert myself inside of the family dynamic. And it made me just feel more isolated. So, maybe want to get away from them that much more. So learn from my history. If you're a parent out there and for some reason you're listening to me. Consider that. Anyway, let's see. Is there any other thing about penalizing bad mistakes in combat? I was a little bit roaming around there in the conversation points, but I think I covered everything that I was looking to cover. I don't know if this is a good thing to extract out as a standalone sort of thing, because it was kind of roaming. But I saw that raised up in the Discords as a topic of conversation, and I have quite a bit of experience in this sort of a situation. So I thought I'd just share some thoughts there for you guys. It's only 7 o'clock. That's fantastic. So these really sharp highlights I still have the line art as a separate layer, but right now I'm really working on just getting this sheen effect here in the material. That's how silk works. It has a highly reflective, glossy surface. So we have to spend time smoothing the shadows in this curvature so that it reads like the proper type of material. There. I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to converting the Path of the Giant into the martial power system today. That's going to be fun. Wizards doesn't release a lot of books, and they don't release a lot of character options with each book these days. So when a new book comes out that offers a new subclass, it's fun to explore it like that. So we'll be doing that in about 4 hours from now. (11 a.m. here in Seattle. That's when we'll be doing that. It's about 7 a.m. in Seattle right now. I'm gonna do this for a little while longer. Hey, Hornetico, it's good to see you, guy. How's facial features coming along for you, Hornetica? I know that was something that you were taking another look at as your next step of evolution in your artwork. I pay attention. So far, so good. So what? I need a sip of coffee. Wrong button. There we go. Glossiness needs to have a narrow, a fairly narrow space. When you're dealing with curvature and glossiness, there's going to be an apex to the curve, and that like my top knuckles here is like the apex of the curve of my hand. So I only want the highlights to be along. You can see like the highlights from the lighting here, how this part is so much more lit than over here. But you can also see that like right up here is like the apex, and that is where the sharpest highlight is at. So you want to think about how the light is curving around the fabric especially when you're dealing with silk or linen, like really fine linen. Has a glossiness to it. I love this song. Let me get rid of that. It's a little too. It's offline. I'm gonna drop that down. I think you found some tricks with getting eyes to emote properly. Good. Excellent. I was particularly proud in my own facial face art when I started paying attention to this plane. I forget what it's called, but the plane that goes from the corner of your eye down your nose, how it's like it's like a tilted roof, you know, like, because there's that sweep that goes from the bridge of your nose down into your occipital, like that little space that catches highlights. I love that. I love finding that space. It's like right inside of here, right inside of there. I love catching that space because it's a detail that, God damn it, I'm on the wrong layer again. There, that's going to make things make a little bit more sense. There we go. There we go. Keep hitting the wrong layer. I'm gonna put a lock on this layer so I don't screw that up anymore. We'll get to flesh soon enough. Oh God, look at that! Such a smooth gradient. I love it. Just love that. Feels so good. It's just like. It's like melted chocolate. It's just smooth. Love that feeling. All right, here's something I think is funny. And forgive me talking trash for a second, but I think it's funny when somebody posts AI art on a forum or a Discord server somewhere or something. It's like, hey, here's some art from AI. And people say, wow, that's cool art, nice post. And then the person says thank you as though they had anything to do with it. Like, it's like if I did a search on Reddit, or if I did a search on Pinterest for female pike warrior, and I found 15 images of female warriors holding pikes, and then I posted that to a forum and said, hey, here's a selection of art from Pinterest. And then people saying, yeah, that's good art. And then me saying thank you, like I had anything to do with it. It just feels funny. I think that chafes my sense, my perception of people attempting to earn easy praise, which I think is my issue with AI art in general, and that it takes no skill to be able to produce images, which is great for production. Companies that want art that don't want to have to pay for it, I certainly respect them trying to do that, but just individuals looking to get praise for pressing a button is, I think, the epitome of where we're at in society, not encouraging accountability. And I think why most artists are so angry about AI is because they've trained so hard to accomplish the level of skill that they have. And the praise that artists seek when they're sharing their work is, I have toiled X amount of hours, and in my case, like maybe say 18,000 hours over the course of the past 30 years. I'm at the point when I post something, I'm not nearly as interested in the praise as I am. The praise is a measure of how many people are paying attention, because I post work as promotion for whatever project that work is related to. Artwork to me is advertising. So when I post a pic, it's like, hey, here's something that's in the book that I'm doing. It's not. I appreciate the heads up, like, hey, this is good looking art. To me, that's an indication that people are going to be interested in looking at more pages of the book when it's finished. So I use that as, like I said, marketing to promote whoever it is or whatever the project is that we're involved in. But a lot of younger artists or people that are just doing personal work, they'll post a piece to gain recognition and praise to build their own self-worth. So you say, hey, this is good work. They're like, thank you. It's just that they're validating the experience that they have. That they're getting a dopamine hit. And the problem is when that praise, and I'm not the first artist to talk about this. There's a lot of professional artists that bring these types of insights. I think I'm just spinning on it. But if the dopamine hit you are getting from crowd recognition and thumbs ups and likes and stuff, that's leaning you away from hard work. That is that's training your own brain to find a means of producing art quicker, to be able to publish the piece to get the recognition. And the ultimate version of that is AI art, where you're pressing a button, Pike Warrior, 15 images, I post them, someone says, yeah, some of these are good. And then you're saying thank you, because you are attempting to gain recognition for your accomplishments of pressing a button. It's there's a disconnect there in an effort to reward that chafes a lot of artists, because they're looking for the same level of praise, but it takes them maybe 5 hours to produce the result of one of those images, and you got 15 of them with the press of a button. Yet you're getting the same amount of praise and recognition that that toiling artist is getting, and they feel indignant because they wanted that recognition. It's jealousy. And so I think it is interesting to see that play out. It gives me a sense. It further reinforces in me how much people post for that peer recognition, that praise. And I think people that have a lot of emotional encouragement in their life don't seek praise as quickly like that. Like that is such a dark force path to recognition by using other people's works to get good boys from your quote unquote effort of publishing or posting that effort. Like if I posted 15 pictures that I curated from Reddit lists, or from Pinterest, like, hey, here's 15 images I gathered from Pinterest, people would be like, yeah, those are images, and it'd be silly for me to like gain some sort of recognition off of curating a list of other artists' work. But we haven't gotten to the point where that's how we treat AI art. That is, in my opinion, how we should be treating AI art. Hey, here's a bunch of pics. It's like, okay. Cheers. Was someone asking for Pike Warrior art or something? It's like, no, I just thought they were cool. It's like, well, yeah, they're cool. Thanks. Thanks for what? Make them answer that question. Thanks for what? For the recognition? It becomes embarrassing if you call out like, why are you thanking me? I think it's just I think in that sense there's a cultural sickness in not questioning people's efforts to seek attention, like asking directly what's your thought process behind this, or you know, are you looking for praise? It sounds snarky, but it's a literal question. It's like, did you put this because you wanted? I mean, you don't have to be an asshole about it, but keep in mind, are you posting this because you want praise? And what did you do? Anyway, that's me yelling at kids on my yard. So, like I said, it's a little harsh. Forgive me. But it's like that's the same as like somebody posting a picture or a book or whatever it is that they produced, and they're like, I worked really hard on this. It's like, of course you worked hard on this. You couldn't have produced it at all if you hadn't worked hard on it, unless, of course, you just pressed a button, in which case you're not saying, hey, I had to press a lot of buttons to create this, so give me praise. It's like when an artist creates a piece and they publish it and they say, I tried really hard on this, that tells me that they haven't tried a lot. They aren't used to disappointment yet. So it's I don't have a moral to this one. I just think it's funny that you can tell new artists or new content producers or whatever, because they're leading with, hey, this took a lot of effort. It's like, you didn't get a lot of love in your life. And that's not something to make fun of. It's just recognize what goals people have, And if it's something that you want to encourage, then encourage it. If you're recognizing a ploy for emotional support when they get any, reframing the conversation into reward the proper behavior, Anyway. Thank you. Save me from myself with that alarm. I am falling into a weird eddy. Eddie! Speaking of art for projects, I've been struggling to figure out out the central identity for a class I've got almost done. Can't decide whether to use the same shading across the piece or not. Like the same style of shading? Or expand on that. Darken up that shadow a little bit. Just call me Hot Take Jake. Cart uses more sharp shadows, while the subclass example artworks all use smooth. Oh, you mean like sharp shadows? Do you mean like by sharp? Do you mean cell shading, like with like hard lines separating the different gradients of shade, like anime style? Hey, Roshan. Well met and welcome. Yeah, like cell shading. Got it. You are from India. Well, you are welcome from India. Cheers, man. Hopefully you enjoy the stream. Okay, so Hornetico, you've got cell shading on the cover, but you're using gradient shading on the interior. Is that right? And this is obviously all your work because you are an artist unto yourself. But you're having a difference in styles. Is that right? Right on, man. What's the conflict that are you concerned that there's a lack of cohesion in the composition overall? Oh, hey, Roshan. I create role-playing game supplements. I focus on Dungeons and Dragons. This is a book that I'll be publishing online probably at the end of September when it's finished. So Spelljammer, Combat and Exploration. It's a bunch of mechanics for space pirates in a fantasy setting, like wooden ships flying through the void, firing ballistas, catapults, and stuff at each other as they fight in space. So right now, this is a page from the internal text of the book. Here, I'll pop open the full document that I wrote. I hire an editor to make sure that the text is good. And then we do page layouts. So this is all the mechanics about how to the statistics of flying spaceships, like wooden ships in space, the mechanics into combat that goes with it, the mechanics of like being able to visualize, like to be able to sight objects of different sizes at different distances. Hazards that you can run into space, like wild storms, asteroid fields, and stuff. Like all the mechanics and stuff that go into that using the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition rule set. There are some very light rules that Wizards provided, but they don't have any real mechanical depth. So this is 107, currently 107, will probably end up being 110 pages worth of document that we had written over the course of the past year with Joseph Vargas, my co-writer, and Adam Hancock, my editor. So we have all the text built here. You can see that there's patches here of blank space inside it, like if I were to zoom in to this. This is the list of ranged siege weapons, like ballista, mangonels, cannons, trebuchet. So this is how we've broken down the art. So there's spaces here on the page that we'll be able to put ballista, catapult, trebuchet, cannon artwork in. So we're going through the process of creating the art. Right here, specifically, we're looking at magic items, and this one in particular, Necklace of Fresh Air, that while you wear this necklace and it's active, it creates, there's a spell called Air Bubble, which creates a bubble of air around the character's head so that even if they're in the void, they can still breathe, because the magic is creating air for them to breathe. So I'm going through the process after having created the full document here on today at 11 o'clock, in about 4 hours from now. I'll be going through the process of actually developing a document like this on live stream, where we'll be hashing out more mechanics. But once the mechanics of the book is done, I hand it off to an editor that makes sure the text is all good, and then he passes it back to me. Then I break down all the content onto each page here, and once all the pages are, like, I don't need any artwork on these pages here because they're full of text, but they have these gray boxes to help break up the visuals of it. Meanwhile, down here, there's large pockets of empty space on the page that I can fill with little spot illustrations. So I write the book, I then do the page layouts for the book, I then illustrate the book, and then I publish the book. I don't get paid enough as an artist to be able to make a living off of just art. So instead, I make books that I illustrate so that I can pay myself as a book creator. I can pay myself as an artist to create the art in the book. I then get paid for the book. So this is the creation process from front to end of building like adventures with maps, or building rule mechanic books like this. I currently use 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but as we move forward, we'll spill into like different systems and stuff. But yeah, that's what we're doing right now. So we're just illustrating a character that is wearing a necklace of fresh air, that when this is done, it'll have a little air bubble and we'll have like space and stuff in the background. This is the character that I'm using to frame off of it, because we're using a published adventure called Light of Xeraxis that Wizards of the Coast published, using the light rules that they have for space pirates. So I had to rebuild the adventure using the deeper mechanics that we have. So the book is 80 pages of mechanics, and then it's like 25 pages of conversion for, if you want to use these mechanics in that adventure, here's how you change it. So I'm using characters from the adventure inside of the document to reinforce this is all for the adventure stuff and beyond. So I'm just self-referencing the document that we're referencing ourselves. So there's an adventure, we're referencing the adventure, we're building rules to make that adventure a more immersive, fun experience. So we're pulling elements from that adventure and re-illustrating them in my style. But I'm using this character as a frame of reference for the art that we're depicting here. But again, I'm just creating art. So cheers. I'm from Seattle. Let's see. Consistency is a concern of mine. Yeah, because I drew the cover art several months before the subclass art and still can't decide between which shading I like more. That, my friend, is a great challenge. You are establishing for yourself a branding, a brand style for yourself, which is going to evolve over time. So there could be, and let me ask you, has your style of art evolved to the point where you're no longer satisfied with the cover that you created months ago? And are you enjoying gradient shading as an art expression more than the cell shading that you had done previously? Because you might actually be conflicting with regret that you created a cover that you've now evolved past, and it's no longer something that you feel proud as your first look at your product. Like if your interior art is evolving faster than where the cover is currently at, then you've got a disconnect that you'll need to resolve. Which isn't great news, but it is what it is. It happens to me too. Like I have to go back and I have to update the cover here. Looking at the cover again. Like when I first created this cover, I didn't have the idea of the air bubbles surrounding every ship. Now that we've established inside of the book with the interior art that all of these ships have these sphere of air around them, I have to go in, I have to change this book cover to have that sphere added to these ships, even though they're engaged and locked up. That's going to add elements to this image, but it has to be done because that's something that evolved in the interior artwork during the process of creation that I now have to go back and update my cover, which I'm not happy about, but it's something, it's within the curve. It's just part of the project. It's just a realistic element that I have to deal with occasionally. So, ironically, it's more of the reverse. I find the gradient shading useful when I want to establish depth, but the cell shading looks good. Cell shading done well is graphically strong. It has a very, very strong image footprint, which is why anime in general is such a pleasing style, because it's very simple shapes that your eye is converting into falling light or highlights and shadow. So, yeah, I obviously don't have a quick, easy answer for you. At best, all I can ever do is ask you questions that help you establish what you know is right for you to make your next step. So, in that sense, I hope to be useful to you. But if your interior art, okay, so if you like how your interior art is and it's different from your cover, the first question you have to ask is, do I want my cover to be the strongest piece in the book? The answer should be yes. Your cover should be the strongest image in your book. Yeah. So the bottom line to that is whatever it is that you end up doing with your interior art, if your interior art is stronger than your cover, but you want to keep the cell shading style of your cover, even though it's different from the rest of the interior work, make sure that the cover is strong, is as strong as or stronger than anything in the interior. Which is a low key way of me saying, if once you establish what your cover is, that sets a ceiling on how much quality you want to have and detail you want on all of the interior pieces inside of that document. Like that astral, the astral lancers image that I created, far outshines most of the art that I have inside of my book. It's actually imbalanced, and I almost regret having that half page of Scaver Knight art here. For the people that are new, I'll fetch it for you. Desktop. Where'd you go? Book creation, command, vehicles, Spelljammer, production, interior art, done, creatures, chapter art, Astral Lancers. So we created this image, I think back around episode 80. But this is the same level of quality as the cover art, but it's also a higher level of quality than practically anything else that I've built inside of the book. This is going to stand out as an oddity inside of the book. So I'm putting it at the front end of a chapter. It's also the only front end chapter art that takes up this much space unto itself. I built this as a lark because I was inspired to do it. But as I'm going through the composition of the book, this is standing out as an outlier. This is probably strong enough to stand on its own as a cover, just not the cover to this book. So I'm keeping it because I love the illustration. I'm proud of it. But that's like, this is a good example of like, this is far outshining the quality of art that I'm producing here, right? This is not going to equal this when I'm done. This is superior to that. This is about equal in quality to the cover. So these two pieces are the only truly strong illustrations I've made inside of this book. I've done some cool stuff inside of the book, like clever physics and object interactions and good depictions of stuff that I'm proud of. But there's obviously a difference in quality. So you gotta keep that stuff in mind and be at peace with where you at. But the cover is going to ultimately need to be the strong. It should be the strongest piece in the set. If it isn't, whatever. No one's gonna begrudge you. But compositionally, just from a production perspective, the cover should be the strongest. isn't as strong as the cover. Good. But 4 of the 6 subclasses are done and use gradients. So I'm thinking maybe I should leave the subclasses and other interior art as gradient while leaving the cover art as pop out. See, there you go. You knew the answer. I'm happy to help. My computer just locked up, so I'm going to have to save this and then restart it. Yeah, my man, that sounds like the right decision. I think you're on the right path. So, my friend, sally forth with confidence. This is the way. So I'm here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday mornings like this. I put in, where are we at? 7:40. I still got another 20 minutes. I put in about 100 minutes every morning, Monday through Friday. On Saturday morning, I do personal projects or commission work that are unrelated to the books that I'm producing. Monday and Thursday night, I do cartography and token production for maps and adventures. We're working on the Eberron adventure right now. I need to drop the strength of that smudge brush to help smooth that all in. We dropped down to a 23% strength because I hit the 2 and the 3 button at the same time with my fat fingers. But the specific percentage doesn't matter. It's just I want a low soft strength smudge here so that I can work this all together into a smooth curve. And I'm working this part of the document more than like I will down here, because as I move further away from the face, the composition becomes less, and well, the detail becomes less and less important. So I'm just trying to work the curve of the piece all together to smooth it out. And then once a week, typically on Tuesdays, but this week is different. Typically, I do the lunch stream for actual game mechanics and game development. This is just an oddball week, so we're doing it today on Wednesday instead of the typical Tuesday. And we'll be, again, exploring the Path of the Giant that just came out in Big B's... Oh, yeah. Big B's Presents Glory of the Giants. What a pretentious title. But whatever. Yeah, they have the Giant Barbarian subclass path. I'm going to build that out into a martial power system to reinforce the bigokedness that the class is inspiring. Where I think we have a number of powers in our martial power kits that we can lean into this giantism idea. So I don't honestly know how it's all going. I have ideas, but I don't know how it's really going to shake out. So I'm really looking forward to diving into that space later today. And once this book publishes, we'll move Eberron forward from Monday, Thursday nights into Monday through Friday mornings, just like this, and then we'll be able to break down, take each map and break it apart and put each room of the map onto a separate page, and then frame all the descriptive text in the adventure around the map piece that's being discussed on that page. And just like with this process, find where the holes in the text are and first fill them with map, and then any gaps that are left over, fill them with artwork that's pertinent to the page. If we're talking about the weapons locker for the mercenaries that are defending the facility in the adventure, then doing an illustration of a weapon rack would make sense as a little spot, like a 1/8 page spot illustration down in the corner. Stuff like that. Easy peasy stuff. It should be the real challenge for the Eberron adventure is going to be organizing the adventure itself so all the information is easily accessible while also being aesthetically pleasing. So that is a challenge I am very much looking forward to. Use our color reference up here and dribble that in. But But yeah, silk is a material that leans itself to that gradient, like that cell shading style. Like it has that it has a crisp edge and then a gradient that curves off of it. I'm gonna up my strength to 50% so I can push my pixels a little bit more strongly around the page. And this is using that smudge brush that I built not this last Saturday, but the Saturday before that. If you check my commission art stream playlist, thank you, timer. You can see us building that unique smudge brush, but I've found that it's been a really useful tool. I actually like it quite a bit. That I've just started integrating it into my normal workflow like this. It's really good for making delicate curves. It diffuses very easily, much more easily than the other brush that I've been using earlier in this book process, like a couple weeks ago, like literally, because that's when I built the brush. I could probably do this faster with some sort of Photoshop techniques, but honestly, I legitimately enjoy the process. I like pushing the pixels around. I like sculpting it and treating paint like clay almost, and that I push it around the page into the position that I want with my smudge brushes. It probably takes a little bit longer than, I guess, quote unquote, more traditional style or advanced techniques. But I like the end results, so I'm sticking with it until the muse inspires me to learn something better. She's got my back. She sees the big picture from heaven. She just beams down the information that I need in the moment. There we go. Smooth that on, and I can move on to the next segment. Just breaking it up into little pieces makes it more manageable to move from portion to portion without burning out. Burnout is the biggest threat. When you're working on a large, this is the largest project I've ever built. Previous to this, the largest book I'd made was 75 pages, and it had about 65. I think I had 65 illustrations in that book. This one's probably going to have, I think this one's ending up with like 80. So this is by far the largest project I've ever built. Ironically, the Eberron adventure that we're working on, that's probably going to be about 125 pages, but I think it's probably only going to have about 30 unique illustrations in it, I reckon. Because I think a lot of the content is going to be covered with pieces of map, but we'll also have tokens. So once we build out all the tokens for the Eberron adventure, then that becomes good stock art to include inside of the adventure itself as, self-referential. There we go. We can fix all this line art once we get this lighting resolved. Like that grit in there is just, and like these fingers and stuff need to be fixed, but we can do that. It's just part of the process. Here we go. All these illustrations are in the first few pages of the book. So it sets us up to hopefully keep people turning pages. That's the nice thing about good art. Good art keeps people turning pages through your document. Like each page is basically a promotion to read more. Like, have you ever gotten bored in the middle of a document and just stopped reading it? I do that with Pathfinder. I just burn out and it just at some point just stop reading. But there's so much good art in it. I keep turning pages just to see the artwork. And at some point I'll get interested and start re-engaging the content. But my brain needs to take a break from mechanics every now and again. And really cool images helps your brain absorb and rest while staying engaged with the content. There's the technical side of you processing the information that you have and like incorporating the new rules that you're introducing, the mechanics of the game, like allowing the brain to digest what those mechanics are and how those physics work. But while your brain is digesting that content, the imagination, like you switch from the right side of the brain to the left side of the brain, like a gear shift. So while you're absorbing and processing that information, you shift over to the creative side of your brain to incorporate the information. And if you have cool artwork that is inspiring ideas or imagery of what those ideas are that you're presenting mechanically, it helps reinforce your brain to be like, oh, these rules are fun because of X, Y, Z. I'm if we conceal that reference, like here we've got this Ori station, Ori's an SCE, and the Wild Space Ori. The Wild Space Ori was created by Wizards initially, but we've embellished the rules for what you can do with an Ori while it's plugged into an Ori station. So we have an illustration here of a navigator interacting with a hologrammatic map of the system that they're currently occupying or exploring. That is being reinforced by the Ori station and the Wild Space Ori system information. So this illustration, when I'm done with it, will hopefully be able to evoke ideas of this is what our characters are going to be doing while they're exploring space. And the maps that they're looking at, we have later on in the document to show how you can map that stuff out. So if we use this Ori, this Ori system navigation idea to reference throughout the book to reinforce this hologrammatic image, then it helps lock down in the narrator and the player's minds that this is how characters are interacting with the stuff. So that's why you can have like actual game maps appear inside of the world as actual artifacts, because it's things that they're actually interacting with. So we're trying to establish here in this chapter that these are ways that characters are using these tools. So as your brain is processing the information about what these tools are, you're being provided imagery of how can these things manifest, or how do you narrate these items in your game. So you're helping your imagination reinforce the mechanics that you're introducing. At least that's the philosophy behind it. Which is why I love being my own artist, because I can put exactly on the page what I want to depict, and it's only my skill set that limits how that ends up looking, right? So as my skill as an artist increases alongside my skill as a content producer, the imagery will only in time further and more strongly reinforce the ideas of whatever page is on it. So my the things that as a creative I am evolving right now is holistic composition, where I'm creating my own books and then illustrating them. So I am seeing, I'm witnessing the evolution of my process of during page composition, looking at how can I organize the information on a page, and what imagery can I predict I'll be able to put on the page along with the information to be more of a solid composition. I think Nuremberg is probably the role-playing game that really set a gold standard on that creative expression. Their mechanical expression is a hot mess, but the imagery, the feel that you get from the art in the pages of Nuremberg are incredibly iconic. Like it's its own creature, and you can see how they prioritized artwork in that book over over the technical information. But everything on the page is further reinforcing the information that's on the page. So I should really, as a tangent at some point, just sift through the pages of Merkberg and like look at that more directly, like as a case study, which when I get bored and I'm between projects, I'll probably do. It sounds like a fun thing to do. I just merged all the layers. So here's my line art layer, or my line art file, and burp 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 burp. See, different lines in the file here. And there's dirt down here, right? So what I did was I took all these individual layers of line art and I just merged them all together into a single file, so that when I start blending in the line art into the color composition, the lines will melt away as I blend them all together. Like here, for instance. There. So right now I'm making sure all the lighting on the shading in the color file is good, so that when I burn in the line art into the color, it'll help complement it. Like here, for instance, this doesn't need to be here anymore, so I can smooth and smudge this into like that. So that made the line art disappear. That makes this garment now more liquidy. Ad nauseum. But I'm not anxious yet, so let's just get back to work. But yeah, I needed to get rid of that line art here because that smudgery was fucking around with my ability to properly read how smoothly I was getting this silk texture. Where are we at on time? 7:59. Oh my God, my brain. Good job, Muse. Thanks for queuing me up on that. It's 8 o'clock here in Seattle. It's time for me to go pay my pound of flesh to the man. I'm going to be back in probably about 3 hours to look at Big Me's Glory of the Giants, the Barbarian Path of the Giant that they created. We're going to build a power kit out of that and translate it. There's some features in that class design that I think will be complemented and embellished by the martial power system that we built. So anyone that's checking out the channel, like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notification when I go live again. But I'll be back here in about 3 hours to work on those, to work on text mechanics of that book that we're going to publish. And that book will probably come out, I reckon it'll probably come out in April next year. But we're going to start playtesting the mechanics in it in, I'm thinking, October. We're going to start doing like 5th to 7th level playtesting in a hex crawl or dungeon crawl format. It's been a while since I've done a procedurally generated dungeon, and having some folks that would be willing to make characters using the mechanics I developed to then go delve that dungeon, I think would be a lot of fun. So stick around if that's something that's interesting to you. Reach out to me and let me know if you're interested in participating. And if I can incorporate you into the fold, I will be more than happy to do so. But this is where we're at for the day. This is coming along really nicely. I should be able to finish up the glossiness of this outfit tomorrow, and then start further merging the line art in. I suspect this will be done. What is this? Wednesday, Thursday. This should be done by Friday. I'll have the. Let's see. This is the piece that we're working on here. I should have this this navigator done this Saturday as well. So I think there's a chance this chapter will be completed by Monday, and then we'll move on to the combat section of the book and start doing sketches for different ideas there. I'm looking forward to that. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. I'll be back in 3 hours to work on the giant class. And thanks a lot for checking out the channel. See you guys on the other side.